opinion, brethren, the one way to endanger our Constitution is by violence, and by abuse, and by the gun. We live, ladies and gentlemen, in a changing world, and we must defend our Constitution and our Ulster heritage in a modern way. Nor is it necessary to do this kind of thing in order to be a true loyalist.
We want to show that this country is not a democratic country, but this country has been run by a group of dictators from Glengall Street. And for years these men have tried to tell the Protestants of Ulster that they're loyal and they're true blues, but we have found them out now. They've been found out. The hidden things of darkness are being exposed in the light and in the focus of truth. God be with you till we meet.
I think there's a certain feeling that perhaps the Unionist Party have gone soft on firm Unionist principles. Nothing could be further from the truth, but these are based on a good many misconceptions that are being spread. They're based on things like the Easter Rising, or the mass meeting, perhaps the ecumenical movement, all of which, although not directly, or many of which not directly affecting the government, are sometimes tied around the government's neck.
I'm a free-born Protestant, and all the intimidation, and all the slander, and all the lying about me will not stop me in my campaign in Ulster to keep Ulster out of the south of Ireland.
I'll say what I like. I'm in my own, and I'd say it anywhere. I don't care who.
Mrs. Ross, why do you think it is that, the Protestants and Catholics just can't live together in Belfast?
There's nothing to keep Protestants and Catholics from living together, but they've lived together for years. But there'll never be any friendship between Protestant and Catholics again. There's a bitterness, and myself, I'm only speaking for myself. I never had no grudge against nobody, but now I have a bitterness in me. A real bad bitterness, a revenge that I know these people that burned these houses must have had and has all the time while I have it now. I know rightly that it's Paisley, and he's proud, and I don't care who's in it, whether they're my friends or not. Anybody connected with Paisley has a hand in this here, and anything else has happened in Belfast. And the UVF, and from now on, we're going to make and get a band of men and women and children, and we're going to train them up the way the Russians have them trained, that they must do their duty, because it's the only way we can live here.
Do you think this bitterness really is going to help them?
Yes, it'll help me, because these people has got revenge. Why should I not get revenge? Or the rest of the people it's about here?
Have this part of the city desecrated by Republicans. Those that have cursed our flag, have cursed our Queen, and are out to destroy our country. And I want to say that we are determined as ever to resist the Republicans from Queen's University.
I know, please. I can say.
I think will supplement the activities of the civil rights movement. But this thing has now become not a party movement at all. It is a movement of all of the people. And at this very moment, in the streets of Derry, on this quiet Monday, the streets of Derry are thronged with demonstrators that have nothing at all to do with the Nationalist Party. But the mood is, people are completely fed up with all these years of waiting for these elementary little rights. And it's really very difficult to understand why it takes such an immense campaign in order to win the basic rights available in a normal democracy.
Well, the centre of attention just now is Derry.
Yes.
Are we likely to have any civil disobedience from your party here soon?
As I say, I'm sorry to appear so unhelpful, but I don't want to spell out in advance what we are going to do. But the whole mood of the community now is for disobedience, and there is almost a total disrespect for law and order here at the present time. For so long, the law here has been administered in a one-sided way, and people, even people who are not greatly motivated politically, are absolutely fed up with the whole setup here.
Well, isn't it possible that the civil rights movement, the broad base of support that they claim to have, and the fact that they claim to be non-political and non-sectarian, that this will suffer from your activities?
I'm quite sure it won't. I repeat that it will be supplemented, and as I say, the borderlines of parties and so on are being lost in this. I insist that this is now a movement of the people themselves.
Well, what's your view of the activities we've had here in Derry this morning, the dockers marching, the activities outside the court?
This is the cauldron beginning to boil over. All kinds of people now are organising their own their own form of protest, and more power to their elbow. In the meantime, of course, the cabinet sits in its ivory tower at Stormont, deliberating as they have done for 50 years. They must make a move quite soon before the whole ruddy thing blows up in our faces.
The law in Northern Ireland will be maintained in the interests of all. We cannot and will not allow it to be flouted, nor will we permit others to take it into their own hands. It must now be evident that in the present atmosphere, further civil disorder carries the gravest risks, not for any one section of our population, but for all. No cause other than the cause of anarchy will be served by further riot and commotion in our streets.
By a majority of only 6 votes, the Unionist Parliamentary Party at Stormont has given in to the civil rights demand for one man, one vote. But the new franchise may not apply until 1971, after the government reshaping of local councils. The Unionist decision today, at a crucial 2.5-hour meeting, was taken at the expense of a further rift in the party, and the resignation of the Agriculture Minister, Major Chichester Clark, who had been considered a supporter of Captain O'Neill.
I have resigned not because I disapprove of the principle of one man, one vote. Indeed, I think that it's bound to come, and I think it will come, and I think it ought to come. I have purely resigned on a question of timing. I don't believe this is the moment when this particular concession should be given.
Why not?
Pure and simply because we have been told, no later than yesterday, that even if we give it, this isn't going to take people off the streets. And secondly, because I am concerned lest it has a reaction on the so-called militant Protestants and provokes them to doing something very violent. This is the last thing that I would like to see happen.
Police have said they are quite prepared to get us through this obstacle. And if we all keep in very close formation on the right-hand side of the road, the people throwing the stones will be at high ground on the right-hand side. If we keep in close formation on the right-hand side under the hedge, keeping well into the right-hand half of the road, then we should be okay.
It's virtually civil war in the Bogside area. The people are in open revolt to the police force, and they're determined to keep them out at all costs. I believe the only solution can be by the direct intervention by Westminster. What you're witnessing is a collapse not only of the forces of law and order, but the entire collapse of Stormont. And to my mind, the British Home Secretary must intervene straight away before there's any loss of life.
Last night, the Bogside residents were highly organised. How do you feel about the systematic way they conducted the petrol bomb warfare?
For my own part, I must confess that I'm always committed to non-violence, but in my walks around the Bogside area today, I've witnessed total involvement in the defence of the area. In other words, every man, woman and child is committed to keeping out the police force. And from what I've seen today, it looks as if they're going to be quite successful.
Have you made any attempt to tell the people to stop this fighting?
Yes, I have made attempts, but it has gone beyond the bound of people listening. The fact that they saw the police last night accompanied by Paisleyites coming into the Bogside area means that the people are scared that the area will be torn to pieces by the police when they come in. And elderly women are in virtual hysterics, and therefore they're determined to fight to keep them out. And as I say, it's not only the siege of the Bogside, but the collapse of the RUC, and there certainly isn't any possibility of the Stormont government quenching what's going on at the moment.
It is with deep sadness that you and I, Irishmen and women of goodwill, have learned of the tragic events which have been taking place in Derry and elsewhere in the north in recent days. Irishmen in every part of this island have made known their concern at these events. The government have been very patient and have acted with great restraint over several months past. While we made known our views to the British government on a number of occasions, both by direct contact and through our diplomatic representatives in London, we were careful to do nothing that would exacerbate the situation. But it is clear now that the present situation cannot be allowed to continue. It is evident also that the Stormont government is no longer in control of the situation. Indeed, the present situation is the inevitable outcome of the policies pursued for decades by successive Stormont governments. It is clear also that the Irish government can no longer stand by and see innocent people injured and perhaps worse. The Irish government have therefore requested the British government to apply immediately to the United Nations for the urgent dispatch of a peacekeeping force to the 6 counties of Northern Ireland, and we have instructed the Irish permanent representative to the United Nations to inform the Secretary General of this request. We have also asked the British government to see to it that police attacks on the people of Derry should cease immediately.
I think we will wait and see how the British troops treat us, and then if they show themselves to be partial to the people, then we will turn on British troops also.
Do you think there's a danger that they may line up shoulder to shoulder with the RUC?
I would say there's a grave risk of that. Yes, I would say there's a grave risk of that. All along they have stood on the brink. As a matter of fact, Britain has interfered already. They have housed troops in Sea Eagle. They claim that they have no power to interfere in Northern Ireland, and they have interfered in this score. And they have put troops on the side of the police in Belfast already on the alert, and you can't go much further than that in helping any government.
So we're going to have to wait and see how these
yes,
troops react.
Yes, wait and see.
I'll tell you something.
RUC wouldn't have the trouble they do have at the minute if they kept the Paisley outs. I myself have never been involved at any time in anything here.
Well, that's not to your credit.
Either civil rights or anything else.
Well,
but when the Paisleyites come in and they get freedom from the RUC, then it's time for everybody to get in.
Right.
That's the time for people to get in.
By the RUC.
800 men of the RUC were recruited from the B specials, and that's 1/3 of the force. 1/3 Paisleyites.
They're all Paisleyites, every one of them.
If the police had kept back the Paisleyites, they would have had a lot less problems than what they have at the minute, because the ordinary decent Catholic has respect for most of the police. Not the outside police, the local police.
That's nonsense, so it is.
I think so.
That's nonsense. The local police have been involved. We have Derry Catholic police involved.
Well, are everybody in the Bogside prepared to give these troops a chance?
Yes, they're prepared to be given a chance. A chance is all they'll be given.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen, please. It is very important. Is there a superior officer in the area? Gentlemen, is there a superior officer? Please, gentlemen, someone take a message. Someone take a message, gentlemen, to the officer commanding this force that I, Patrick Voluntarily, representing the people of this city, wish to speak to that officer. I have asked them to stand firm, and they are agreeable. All hands are by their sides at this moment. The hands which have been raised in the past are now at their sides, and they only ask in the name of God that you at least speak to us. The use of force at this juncture may cause the loss of a lot of life. Please.
And I want to tell you that Mr. Lynch is just as dangerous to the north of Ireland as Neil Blaney or Mr. Hackey or Boland or the rest of the gang. They're all tarred with the same brush, every one of them. And let me give warning to Mr. Lynch tonight. And let me tell him that Ulster will not bow to him or any other.
As I speak to you, the security forces are very fully engaged in the task of dealing effectively with the lawbreakers in our community. The army is holding an area of the lower falls under strict control of movement for the rest of this weekend, subject only to such relaxations as are necessary to prevent actual hardship and to allow people tomorrow to fulfill their religious obligations. Details of these controls and of the areas to which they apply have already been announced.
Said on all the TV reports, BBC and ITV, that food and milk got into this area. If it got in, the people were not allowed out onto the street until 5 o'clock. So what good was food and bread? And I stood and I personally watched while a milk truck was turned away. And I stood with, I must have been about 50 mothers, wives, crying, begging to get in to see their family, and a truckload of Scottish troops come out past us, and one beside the driver made a finger sign at us while we were standing there. Our children had no food, trying to get in to see what had happened to our families. And it hasn't happened according to the papers tonight. It's all a big dream. All we hear is about the impartiality of the Great British Army.
Craig, get one-way cameras on them bastards and them one-way cells. Go on, you dirty rotten bastard, you cunty. Go ahead, fucking shake me, go ahead. Fucking shake me, you dirty bastard. Go ahead. Are you sick of no answer? Are you fucking marching after me? Are you ready? Are you ready? Watch your back!
The kernel of our immediate problems in Ulster is the law and order situation. Here, we don't need new principles. What we need are practical results on the ground. Practical results in the elimination of terrorism, in the elimination of sabotage, and in the ending of riots and disorder. The rule of law will operate in all parts of Northern Ireland so that the security which goes with the rule of law can be enjoyed quite literally by all our citizens. Every means has been tried to make terrorists amenable to the law, but the terrorist campaign continues at an unacceptable level, and I have had to conclude that the ordinary law cannot deal comprehensively or quickly enough with such ruthless viciousness. I have therefore decided, after weighing all the relevant considerations, including the views of the security authorities, and after consultation with Her Majesty's government in the United Kingdom last Thursday, to exercise where necessary the powers of detention and internment vested in me as Minister of Home Affairs.